Hi everyone, it's Anne. Welcome to my channel, Headship Creations, where I create mixed media portrait art. I usually do my portraits on watercolor paper, but I thought I would use copy paper this time around. I love copy paper, loose leaf paper, and index cards. Don't ask me why, I just do. So it's very thin. Of course, I had to take special precautions. It was a lot of fun. I love the way it turned out. I can't wait to show you how I did it. The video will start now. Enjoy. So here I am starting the sketch with a charcoal stick on a regular sheet of copy paper that is sitting on top of a stack of newsprint because I'm going to be using a lot of water, and it's really important to have something absorbent underneath, otherwise the paper would get so wet it would deteriorate. So I'm doing the sketch, and then I'm going to use paper towel to smear it around to get instant contouring and shadows, and also to kind of shape her features because that really helps when it smears. And now I'm using candle wax because when I hit it with the water and the diluted acrylic ink, I want it to have some texture. This is a Crayola black colored pencil. I'm going to be doing a lot of contouring throughout the whole process. So I'm giving the paper a cardboard base with that pad because I'm using the gel pen, and if I don't have something firm under it, it's going to poke a hole. So this is the black acrylic ink. I'm using a medium-sized water brush and a lot of water. So the water is very, very dirty because it's mixing with the acrylic ink. So I'm shaping her hair. It's going to be in kind of like a bob, and then I'm going all the way to the edges to kind of blend it in so that it doesn't have too much of a contrast, and you can see the texture from the candle wax. So I'm just contouring under her chin, which I reduce the size of her chin towards the end. And so everything looks very dark because it's wet, but then when I dry it with the heat tool, it gets lighter. And her face right now is so white, I actually go over the face right here with the dirty water. And then I hit it with clean water to rinse it, and then I tilt the paper to let it drip, and then I dry it with the heat tool, and it lightens significantly. But at least it wasn't that stark white in comparison to everything else. Lost a little bit of her features there, but that's okay because this is a calligraphy nib, and I'm going over all her eyes, her pupils, her eyelids with the black acrylic ink, and her nostrils and her lip line. I like the acrylic ink because it's acrylic and it dries. I think if I used India ink, it would activate. So here I'm lowering her hairline and then filling it in with the dirty water. I have the full strength black acrylic ink. I have the dirty water, and later I have another batch. So depending on what the application is, what I need it for, if I want it to be lighter, if I want it to be full strength, darker. So I jump around between the different strengths, if you will, concentrations, and also the size of the water brushes. So here I am still working on her hairstyle. It's this bob that kind of has like an angle from the draw line. It kind of goes up, and it's supposed to be thick and kind of wavy. I'm not using reference. This is completely out of my head. And then hitting the background as well to kind of diffuse things a little bit. And then I'm going to hit the whole thing with white acrylic. So I didn't mention acrylic in my thumbnail because it's not really the majority of the media that I used. But it is monochromatic, I don't use any other colors. It's just the black acrylic ink, the water, and the white acrylic, just to get kind of grays. So this is the dirty water. So you can see I just getting the shadows on her lips, around her nose, her eyelids, and I define and I go over everything so it doesn't look so blurry and smeared. And you have to be careful when you're using water and any color, but especially black, because if there's too much water, it'll bleed. So here I'm using the white acrylic. I'm going over the whole piece, not her face, hitting a lot of her hair as well, and then I go back into her hair afterwards. But I wanted to bring in a lot of grays and more texture. I have the candle wax. I apply the candle wax a couple of times. So I want the black, I want the grays, the white, the ink, and the acrylic to get the texture, and with the candle wax. So right now she's looking a little Art Deco-ish. And her chin is too big, as I mentioned before. I end up reducing that. That was an easy fix. And she looks very Art Deco right now because she doesn't have eyebrows and her hair is very short. But when I add her hair back in and I give her eyebrows, she takes on a whole new look. So here I'm using the charcoal stick to do some more contouring, especially darkening the upper lip and her eyes. So the upper lip should always be darker. I don't always follow that rule, but I try to. And so I'm adding all of the shadows to her eyelids, top and bottom, and around her irises. And then I use a foam applicator to blend it in. We stop and take a look and see what else is needed. Adding the shadows all around her nostrils. And you can see here I'm working down the shadow of the side of the nose, starting from the eyebrows. And that under her lip, and getting the corners wide because the corners of the mouth should line up with the pupils. And now I'm blending with the foam applicator so it looks more natural. And then I go into the eyebrows with the gel pen, and then later with the acrylic ink, getting that shadow on the sides of her nose, the sides of her nostrils. And now I'm working on her hair again. So I have a lot of texture there between the candle wax and the white acrylic. So you have like all of the different variations of that monochromatic palette. And this batch of diluted acrylic ink is a little stronger. So in the little red cup, it's kind of like dirty water. The one in the middle in the tea light holder is straight, and then this little square container is diluted, but it's pretty strong. So you can see I'm shaping her hair, getting the height just right, and then how it crops at the neck at the jaw and then goes up instead of straight or down. And then of course it's going to dry matte and lighter. Right now it looks very dark and shiny, almost like vinyl, because it's wet. So not only do I dry it throughout the whole process, I dry the back of it as well. And I changed out the newsprint. I let the first newsprint sheets dry at the windowsill and added a new few sheets there because they were too wet. So here I am using the colored pencil again. I'm using a gel pen to add some hair strands. So it looks more natural. And I have cardboard underneath, so I have a firm surface so the gel pen doesn't go through, as I mentioned before. And here I want some texture around her neck. There's a lot of candle wax there. So I'm just going over all around her neck. I don't want her to look like she has long hair, so I'm being careful not to fill in that whole area there, which that's why it's good to use the wax, because it actually prevents that area from holding the pigment. And this is a detail brush. I'm using straight acrylic ink for the eyelids and the pupil and her nostrils and her lip line and under her lip, the nostrils. Motorcycles. Now I'm doing the eyebrows. Still keeping them thin. And now this is a white charcoal stick, giving her some highlights around the sides of her nose, the ball of her nose. And now, see how I'm holding the pencil? At the very end, it's very loose, and because it's copy paper, it's very wrinkled, and so as I go over her hair, it skips over all of the crinkles in the paper, and I'm giving her highlights in her hair. But I'm just kind of like kissing it. It's very loose, because if I held the pencil by the tip, it would just look too stiff. And then when I was done with all of the highlights, I added a line where the part in her hair is, because you want to see the scalp. So first I darkened where the part is. I added a lot of black, first with the charcoal stick, then with the acrylic ink, and then once it was dry, I hit it with a line, a white line. I like the way that looks. And now I'm doing some faux drips. I'm not really good at doing organic drips. They always come out too thick at the bottom. So I'm using a detail brush. So I like the way that looks. And now I am reducing the size of her chin. Very carefully. There's kind of like no room for error right here. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because if I took too much of her chin off, I could always go into her face with white acrylic. And this is a security ink roller. It has all the little numbers on it, so it's instant texture, and I went onto her face to kind of suggest high cheekbones. And this is gray acrylic. It's white acrylic that I mixed with the acrylic ink to get the gray, and using a little sponge just to add a little something something to her neck. And she is done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you have any questions about my process or materials, which I've detailed below, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, because I upload regularly. Until the next video, take care. I'll see you soon.